So far this week, I've talked about the fact that humanity is valuable to God. I've also talked about the fact that humanity is the center of God's creation. And as the center of God's creation, we're valuable to God. And so today what I want to talk to you about is the fact that God has uniquely given mankind, God has uniquely given humanity dominion over the earth. And so that's something that we need to understand, because that gives us some very serious responsibilities that I believe that we're going to ultimately be held accountable for. The Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 1, beginning in verse 26, it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all of the earth, and over every creepy thing that creeps on the earth." And God created man in his own image, and in his own and God created him, male and female he created them, and God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." And so God has given us dominion, and he says that there two times. He says that God has given us dominion to rule over the earth and to rule over everything. And so the lion isn't the king of the jungle. And we look at humanity. Humanity is the one that God has given dominion. Now, God is Lord of all. God is King of kings, and he is Lord of lords. But God has given to humanity the stewardship of the earth, to rule over it and to take care of it for God and for the glory of God. And so in that, God has given uniquely to humanity intellect. And God has given uniquely to mankind not just intellect, but the instinct to be able to do the very things that God has required of us. That's why God put before Adam in Genesis chapter 2 every single living thing, and God allowed Adam to name all of those living things. And so God allowed Adam to have that dominion. And then he tells Adam, he says, "Be fruitful, fill the earth, multiply and fill the earth, and rule over the earth," is what he's telling you. So as God has given us that intellect, yes, we abuse that intellect. We abuse that intellect all of the time. We abuse that intellect every single day. And sometimes we don't look very intellectual when we are abusing that intellect. So God has given that to humanity in a way that he's not given to any beast, that he's not given to any creepy thing, to anything that flies, or any of the fish of the sea. Now, there's some animals that are extraordinarily intelligent. They tell us that dolphins are extraordinarily intelligent, but God didn't give domain over the dolphins. Dogs, I've seen some dogs do some things just blow my mind, and it's just astounding at some of the things that they do. But God didn't give them that intellect. Instead, he's given it to humanity. Now, with that in mind, God has given us domain. God has given us rule. God has given us that authority, and we're stewards of it. And so as stewards, we need to be wise stewards, realizing that ultimately the earth is the Lord's and all therein. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to any king, any emperor, any dictator, any president. It belongs to God. Even the land that you have the title and deed to, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to God. And so we're stewards on behalf of God to even your own children. They don't belong to you. They belong to God. And so we're to raise them with that intellect that God gave to them. That's why we as children of God need to seek God. God, give us wisdom through your word. Give us understanding through your Holy Spirit. Empower us and enable us to do the very things that you so desire for us to do. Therefore, whatever we do, whether we eat or drink, whatever we do, we're going to do it all for the glory of God.